What's up, investors? You're watching MJF Invest. I just wanted to do a video, next live stream. Doesn't matter if you watch it now, if you watch it in the future. I just wanted to talk a little bit about monetary policy and how it affects our daily lives. It's something that the average person just does not pay attention to. There's a lot of new stock traders out there. There's a lot of people that are playing around with Robinhood and Webull and kind of momentum trading and swing trading without really understanding the backdrop, the macroeconomic backdrop that kind of, guides this whole, machine. I just want to make a recommendation before we get too far into the video. There's a video on YouTube by Ray Dalio called How the Economic Machine Works by Ray Dalio. It's a 30-minute clip, and I highly recommend that you watch it. I think you really need to know the rules of the game that you're playing, right? Like there's a lot of moving pieces, and there's a lot of mitigating factors that goes into, a stock price or whatever market you're in. Lately, we've been talking about Bitcoin on this channel for this reason. This has piqued my interest. How does the economic machine work? What drives it, right? I just feel like it makes you more informed to make a sound decision going forward if you really understand all the rules and how each section works. I did a podcast with Will Clemente about 2 weeks ago. I have some exciting guests scheduled going forward. We got Greg Voss coming on the channel on Tuesday. We have Peter McCormick, the host of the What Bitcoin Did podcast, coming on June 23rd, as well as Alex Gladstein, who's a human rights activist. So I'm very excited. I felt it was a very important to do this podcast because I feel like Bitcoin is one of those things that there's a lot of variables that make it important, right? Like it's not just one thing. It's kind of like the world and the environment and, government, fiat systems, legacy banking. All these systems are kind of, aging, old, and not servicing the vast majority of the populace. It's just that simple. This fiat system benefits the coastal elites, if you will. It doesn't seem like there's going to be a middle class for very long. With inflation on the way, that hurts the bottom of the tier more than it hurts anything else. So I really think it's important. I think it's the most important issue that we have. Fix the money, fix the world. Money needs to be sound. Sound money should be a human right. And I'm not gonna lie, I feel somewhat betrayed in a sense by the system. The more that I learn, I've been really getting familiar with Keynesian economics opposed to Austrian economics, I'm sorry. And I'm really finding that the libertarian view and true capitalism, true free markets is something that I believe in. I believe that this manipulated system, like I touched on earlier in the video, is a system that they manipulate. There's an invisible tax called inflation that really deters the middle and lower class of the populace. So I just think it's really important, right? And it's not one of those things like I'm talking about it a lot, and I'm telling my friends, I'm telling my family, I'm telling my coworkers what I'm learning. And that's really what my channel is. I just want to learn and share it. I spend a lot of time trying to learn this. It's very fascinating to me. I think it's very important. And then I want to share it with the audience. And this podcast is going to be the vehicle through that. I'm trying to hunt down the smartest people in the room to get them to explain to us. That's why I got Greg Voss coming on Tuesday. He's really going to run us through the bond market, how it works, why it's important, and just that kind of stuff, and back to the basics, getting a foundation, understanding monetary policy, And just to circle back to what I was talking about just a minute ago was why I feel a little bit betrayed by the system is getting familiar with Keynesian economics is they really drive the GDP, which is the gross domestic product, is the number that really matters. That's the only number that really matters, right? As long as there's money flowing through the economy, they feel like everything's okay. Modern monetary policy would sell them, that they could just continuously reissue debt and continue to add more debt and more debt. But looking around, asset inflation is running wild, I believe, right? Like you look at the CPI, you see 2%, you go, oh, well, there's no inflation. That's just on a basket of goods. But if you look into asset inflation, like stocks, for example, look at AMC. I mean, that's a prime example. I mean, there's no way that AMC is a valuation at what they're at right now, and that kind of is what Keynesian economics is. It has this big, massive media machine behind it and social media, and it just basically makes the population consumers. It's as long as we are a consumer, it keeps the system, afloat and going, and allows them to issue more debt and kind of pretend that everything's okay. This is, pretty complex, like I said, so it was important. I wanted to get a podcast on. I wanted to, history plays a role, the present plays a role, geopolitics plays a role, the bond market plays a role, Bitcoin itself plays a role, human, game theory plays a role. I mean, there's so much mathematics, even biology in a sense. Once you get familiar with Bitcoin and how the operation works, you'll see the difficulty adjustment is very similar to, biology. It's just like the human body, like kind of morphing to what's going on, right? Like the supply and demand, the laws of supply and demand. And it's a really beautiful creation. And because there's so many variables around it that make it vital, I felt like it was a good time to start a podcast. Like I said, I have one recorded with Will Clemente, who is an on-chain analyst and a writer for Bitcoin Magazine. And I got some very exciting guests going forward. I just want to go find the smartest people in the space, in their little respected category, because there are several categories. I know you could think in the, off the top of your head, a Bitcoin podcast, another one, great, but there are so many factors and so many variables that make this important that I think it's the best topic. Like my anticipation on Tuesday, I've been prepping to talk to Greg Voss, and I don't even know how much we'll actually discuss Bitcoin, right? We're going to be talking about the bond market and fixed incomes, yield. He was a high yield bond trader, so I really want to tie that in, tie the Federal Reserve in and their role. They're buying. Don't quote me. I could be wrong on this. We're going to clarify on Tuesday when I talk to Greg. But I read in his paper that the Federal Reserve is buying about $120 billion worth of bonds per month, their own government issued bonds. They're also using a new form of quantitative easing where they're buying corporate credit. I don't know that that's ever been done before. I think it's very interesting and fascinating. I really am interested to know what the repercussions and consequences of a move like that could be, right? They're buying more corporate credit and corporate debt and government bonds with debt, right? Issued debt. I mean, this is not real money. There's no peg to the dollar. This is strictly off the printing press, issued debt and modern monetary theory. And again, let me clarify. I want to be clear about this. I'm not trying to promote fear or fearmonger in any way. I want to be prepared. Modern monetary theorists believe that this can go on and that a lot of this is deflationary. I also hope, and if you know anybody, maybe you could set me up with them if you're watching this video, somebody who, from the opposite side of the spectrum. I'd also like to be fair and get a different perspective. I know there are people out there that believe that this could be a deflationary period because of technology and whatnot. So I'm really interested. I'd really like to get somebody on, maybe to discuss the other side of the spectrum, why QE is helping, because there are people out there, to be clear, who believe that, and it's interesting as an outsider looking in, because, and trying to learn and get familiar, because again, this is all still fairly new to me. I mean, I'm spending a lot of time doing it, and I'm really, learning, and I'm confident. I feel good about what I'm learning. I'm actually proud of myself for what I'm learning, but I see very clearly that there's a divide within the experts, the people who would know, the people who have studied this extensively. There's a little bit of a divide. Some people, believe, inflation is coming. It's going to be horrible. And it's due to the quantitative easing playing a big role in that. And what quantitative easing is basically the printing and government kind of stepping in whenever they see a down cycle. And this kind of fits into Keynesian economics a little bit. And some people would say as well that there's cycles, there's business cycles, boom and busts, and Keynesian economics is kind of shaped where the government kind of jumps in, on a bust cycle to stimulate. This is not a political problem. This is not a Joe Biden issue. This is not a Donald Trump issue. This is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. This is simply an issue of monetary policy over a long period of time. This goes all the way back to World War I, World War II, the United States accumulating most of the world's gold. It goes back to Bretton Woods, and when the U.S. dollar was named the global reserve currency. This goes back to the petrodollar, and Saudi Arabia pricing oil in the dollar. That ties in. Richard Nixon and Henry Kissinger getting off the gold standard in 1971 because countries lost faith because we were losing manufacturing in the country. People lost faith that gold would be redeemable for their currency. So all of this ties in, and it's such a big picture of history, economics, human behavior, human psychology, and it's just such a fascinating and interesting topic that I really want to dive into. I really want to get the average Joe, around the coffee table at work, talking about it, right? Talking about Keynesian economics versus Austrian economics, talking about monetary policy, talking about Bitcoin versus fiat, right? And I know there's a lot of content creators and influencers in this space, and there's many of them that are very good. It's a crowded space, and I'm not trying to dilute that, but I just feel like it's such a robust topic with so many factors that I really think that it's important that we start to educate each other and share what you learn with your coworkers, with your family, with your wife, with your kids, with your friends, on YouTube, right? In your social media posts. This is a movement and a revolution that we need as a people because our future, I believe, depends on it. Now, whether this can go on for another 5 years, maybe it could go on another 10 years, maybe it could go on, right? But at some point in time, you can't kick the can down the road forever. Our kids' future, their kids' futures, like I said, sound money is a human right. That's, kind of the gist. There was a time as well when journalists seemed to hold the elected officials accountable. And we're not in that time anymore. And it's kind of one of those things where, it's our responsibility, right? Like it really is. It's our responsibility to learn and fight for freedom and hold on to our freedom and pass the message on to, to your peers. And it's so important. And that's why I wanted to do this. And I want this channel is just a vehicle, because I like to learn. I have a thirst for this stuff and I want to share it. Now, whether one person sees it or 10,000 people see it, that's not really that important. One principle in Austrian economics is lower your time preference and plan for the future. And when I think of that and think of this channel and the role I want that to play within that is, I believe, there's 8 billion people on this planet. At some point, all of them will need to be informed about Bitcoin and the variables surrounding Bitcoin. So although that may not be the most popular topic today, this could be a sanctuary for that. And we get to learn. We're going to have a nice learning experience. Like I said, we have a high yield, a 30-year high yield bond trader coming on the channel on Tuesday named Greg Foss. I'm very excited to talk to him. He's a brilliant guy, and he's really going to break down to us and teach us why the bond market's important, how it ties in, how it works. He equated it to the bond market being the dog and the equities market being the tail, and the tail gets whipped around by the dog really and has no idea why. And that was a really deep analogy. And when I heard him saying that, I really, it really hit me. I was like, wow, man, I gotta get this guy on my channel, and I gotta pick his brain to spread the message. And this stuff should be common knowledge. It's out there. We have the access. That's something that I've been talking about since day one when I was picking stocks. And now that, and it went into that. And I always said, follow the research, right? Dive deep and follow the research. And this is where it's led me. I wanted to learn how things ran under the hood, and it's pointing me right in this direction. And I don't want to be part of this matrix, this Keynesian economic machine. I don't want it to define me. I don't want to be part of something that almost like I'm programmed to do. And that's what I feel like. I feel like this monster media machine, these social media companies, these marketers, they understand that GDP is so important in this massive machine. And they're basically, putting it down your throat, in your face. You're not good enough. You need this product. And if you have this product, everything's going to be okay. And then once you get that product, it kind of, the pleasure subsides, the fulfillment that product, gave you subsides. And now you're looking for the next thing, and it's the next thing. And then it's the next commercial, and it's, oh, I need that. You're not good enough until you buy this. And it's this ever-long cycle of purchasing and consuming. And when I think about spiritual principles and how the way I want to live my life, I want to be fulfilled with myself, who I am, what I'm learning, just with the present. I don't need to stuff all this stuff in this void that I have. And it's almost like this void was placed there based on the environment. And that's kind of what central banking is. That's kind of what the fiat system is. It's non-inclusive. It works for the few. It makes the middle and lower tier feel less than, that needs to purchase and consume these products to, feel better and be part of it, and it's like, I want to step outside of that. I want to step outside of that, and I want to be aware that's even going on. And it makes me feel betrayed that it is. I want to step outside of that, and I want to be aware. And we talk about woke culture quite a bit, in this society, and yet, things like this happen. Woke has become a label. It's become like, a trend, if you will, but there's been no real fundamental change. And, and I want this channel to be part of that. Obviously, it's a small channel, but, even if a few people see it and then they, that ripple effect, the S curve, right? They tell the people they know to get interested and pay attention and so on and so forth. And before you know it, it spreads. And just like the nonsense that goes on today with Keynesian economics, we could start to see fundamental change with people lower their time preferences, low for the plan for the future, and really focus on building something important, right? Building something long lasting with longevity. And, that's kind of what this channel is. And again, I'm very excited about some of the things going on. Like I said, Greg Foss is coming on the channel. I have Peter McCormick, and I'm very excited about that. He's the host of What Bitcoin Did. That's a podcast that really, really helped me speed up the learning curve because he has so many different personalities come on from different backgrounds and different perspectives. And it's really, really a good podcast. If you're not familiar, definitely check that out. What Bitcoin Did by Peter McCormick. And he'll be coming on the air live with me on June the 23rd at, I believe, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's a Wednesday. But this Tuesday, first, we got Greg Foss coming on, I believe at 3 p.m. So stay tuned for that. I'm very excited. Towards the end of the month, Alex Gladstein again coming on. So we got some really exciting, very smart people coming on. So, I want you to remember this is not financial advice. These are solely my opinions and things that I'm interested in. Things that I think are important and things that, I think are fascinating for people to pay attention to and what questions you need to be asking yourself, because I believe there is going to be a price to pay for this printing, this quantitative easing. I don't believe you could kick the can down the road forever, and this has been going on over about 50 years now. So that's kind of where we're at. I just wanted to put that out there. Monetary policy is so important. It affects all of us. It's something that we all need to be paying attention to, something we all need to focus on and get more familiar with. Sound money is a human right. That's the way we need to think. We need journalists to step up and hold these elected officials accountable for the monetary policy. The elected officials need to have a better understanding as well. In the thumbnail, the photo that I placed was of Henry Ford, and it's a quote that says, if the people understood how the legacy banking system worked, there would be a riot pretty much, or there would be a revolution. And he said that back in the 1920s or 30s or whatever. That has been amplified. It's at a bigger magnitude today. This is where we're at. And I want this channel to be part of that, part of informing people to pay attention to monetary policy, get familiar with Bitcoin, a hard asset. It's hedge, it's insurance against inflation, So if you're still watching, thank you so much, guys. Remember that this is not financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor. I appreciate your time. It's a beautiful Sunday morning here in New Jersey, and I hope you're enjoying your day wherever you are. Thank you for watching. Make sure you tap that like button and subscribe for future content. And drop a comment down below and let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you next time.